Hello and welcome to Mr. Alvarez's Virtual Chemistry Laboratory. Today we will be performing the double replacement reactions laboratory procedure. Introduction. Double replacement reactions occur when aqueous solutions of two ionic compounds are allowed to react. In this laboratory exercise, you will be observing several double replacement reactions. Using the grid provided, you will identify the contents of the 5 unknown solutions by seeing how they react with each other. Table 1 below was obtained by observing reactions between the indicated solutions on a spot plate. The boxes where no precipitates form are labeled. The name of a color indicates that a precipitate solid that may look clumpy formed with that color. Precipitates that are formed are solids which are insoluble. See Table F on your reference tables. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be wearing goggles at all times, and we'll test 2 solutions at a time. Place 3 drops, maybe 2 drops, of each solution being tested into a space on the dropping plate as illustrated by your teacher. Be sure that the droppers do not touch the solutions. That'll prevent contamination. 3, record your observations on a blank data table. Number 4, repeat the procedure until each 2 solution combination has been tried. And in step 5, the solutions numbered 1 through 5 and the droppers are the same solutions as in table 1, but their order has been changed. Finding the colored solutions with the precipitates will help you determine the correct solution in each dropper. Let's perform our procedure. Here we have our grid, our data table, with plastic wrap over it to cover our grid. We have 5 pipettes, each with an unknown substance inside, toothpicks for mixing, and an empty weigh boat for the discarded toothpicks. So we'll start by taking substance 1, and we'll put 2 drops in each spot that has a 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll take substance 2 and put that in every spot where there's a 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and across 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Same procedure. Now we do substance 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Same procedure, now substance 4. 1, it's good enough. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Last but not least, substance 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Here we could see substance 2 and 3 bled together. That's why we do this twice, just in case. Mix all the 1s, mix all the 2s. Mix all the 3s. See a nice orange color there? Mix all the 4s. We could leave that first one alone. There's clearly something going on there. and all the 5s. Clearly something going on there. So for our results, let's see if we can zoom in. Let's examine our results a little bit closer. 1 and 1, there's no precipitate. 1 and 2, no precipitate. 1 and 3, orange precipitate. 1 and 4, red precipitate. And number 5 might be hard to see, but 1 and 5 is a yellow precipitate. 2 and 1, no precipitate. 2 and 2, no precipitate. 2 and 3, no precipitate. 2 and 4, no precipitate. And 2 and 5 is a white precipitate. 3 and 1, orange precipitate. 3 and 2 and 3 and 3 both bled into each other. Luckily, I don't see anything. 3 and 4, white precipitate. 3 and 5, no precipitate. 4 and 1, red precipitate. 4 and 2, no precipitate. 4 and 3, white precipitate. 4 and 4, no precipitate. 4 and 5, no precipitate. Last but not least, 5 and 1, yellow precipitate. 5 and 2, 5 and 2 and 5 and 3 blend into each other as well. I see a white precipitate for 5 and 2, no for 5 and 3, no precipitate 5 and 4, and no precipitate 5 and 5. So once again, our precipitates: 1 and 3, orange. 1 and 4, red. 1 and 5, yellow. 2 and 5, white. 3 and 1, orange. 3 and 4, white. 4 and 1, red. 4 and 3, white. 5 and 1, yellow. And 5 and 2, white. Let's fill out our data table. Start off by putting an X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 and 1, no precipitate. 1 and 2, no precipitate. 1 and 3, orange precipitate. 1 and 4, red precipitate. And then 1 and 5, yellow precipitate. 1 and 2, no precipitate. 1 and 3, orange precipitate. 1 and 4, red precipitate. And 1 and 5, yellow precipitate. One, 2 and 2, no precipitate. 2 and 3, no precipitate. 2 and 4, no precipitate. And 2 and 5, white precipitate. 3 and 1 is orange. 3 and 2 is no precipitate. 3 and 3, no precipitate. 3 and 4 is a white precipitate. And 3 and 5 is no precipitate. 4 and 1 is red. 4 and 2 is no precipitate. 3 and 4 is a white precipitate. 4 and 4 is no precipitate. And 4 and 5 is no precipitate. Finally, 5 and 2, we have a white precipitate. And the rest, no precipitate. No precipitate. And no precipitate. Now from this data and the data table on page 1 of the lab, you should be able to identify each of the 5 unknown substances. Thank you for joining Mr. Alvarez's Virtual Chemistry Laboratory. Today we performed the double replacement precipitation lab. Thank you again for joining us. I hope you learned something today. Please join us again soon.